of Advent is love. The greatest of these commandments is love. So let's go back to our revealing word and see what the metaphysical interpretation is of love. And really the only interpretation. The pure essence of being that binds together the whole human race. The pure essence of being that binds together the whole human race. So what do you think is lacking in the world, in the human race? Love, sweet love. That's right. Of all the attributes of God, love is undoubtedly the most beautiful. In divine mind, love is the power that joins and binds in divine harmony the universe and everything in it. The great harmonizing principle known to man. God is love, therefore, I am love. We use the I am, remember, because of the power of lining us to that Christ consciousness. So we use that power by fueling it with the I am. I am all that I am. I am love. Right? So why do we not love and fully accept ourselves? If we are this love and we come into the world as that, why do we not accept that part of our being? Why do we not love ourselves unconditionally and totally, since we are that individualized expressions of God, of love? What is that? Conditioning. Conditioning. We are conditioned immediately as we come into this world. Our conditioning begins, right? First of all, it begins in our home life. And most of all, a lot of times for most of us, it began with our religion. When I was a Catholic, and going in and learning their teachings that I was a worm of the dust and I was born in sinfulness, and by God, I better be baptized. The only way that I was going to be this love that God is only through being baptized. Other than that, I am this sinful person. So that's where most of us became a condition. Was through our religion and through our home life. And those that we grew up with in our family, they were also conditioned, right? So whatever they learned, whatever they were taught to believe about themselves and others, was also from what they had been conditioned by. Then we go into school. And what happens in school? We have our peers. We have peer pressure. Right now you hear all about bullying. Well, do you think bullying's been around for a long time, or do you think that's new to the world? No. But it is coming to a surface for us to look at it, for us to become aware of it. It is no longer a condition that we are willing to tolerate and to accept anymore. So it has been brought into our awareness, so that we can become willing to change it. We cannot be willing to change something if we are not first aware of it. So now we're aware of it. So there's steps being taken to address bullying. But we want to be accepted. We want people to like us. And we give our worth to those people. Because it is through their perception of us that we view our own worth, right? So we're conditioned again, right? And all the authority figures in my life that tell us that this is the way society is supposed to act and be. So we have to also fit into society. And these authority figures that are constantly telling us how to be and act and how to even choose. And we were given free will. So that kind of stunts our free will, doesn't it? It kind of stunts our choices. That we have the ability to make our own decisions. To make our own decisions. So another thing that why we don't love ourselves is we are not taught. When you're growing up and you're taught how to talk, to walk, to interact with others, how often is being taught to love left out of our teachings? Most of the time we're taught how to defend ourselves, how to protect ourselves, right? But if we had the element of love, if that was a conditioning that was taught to us at an early age, taking out the fear of having to protect and defend ourselves, think how different you would grow up. Be a whole different scenario, wouldn't it, as you matured? Yes. So those are reasons why we don't. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor. There is 8 places in the Bible that talk about loving our neighbor as ourselves. The big word in here is has. Has yourself. Today we're addressing loving ourselves because we cannot begin to be loved to other people if we do not feel that for ourselves. You can only love to the degree that you love yourself. So that's why when I came up with this love for today, I thought we really need to first establish that within ourselves. Because once we establish that within ourselves, we become this radiating light of love that spreads out all over everybody else. We don't even have to think about it anymore because we are it. So before we can even begin to love our neighbor, loving ourselves has to be created with our being. We have to be the love. We have to be the example of the love. We have to live from that aspect of your being that is complete and total love. Right? The law of mind action. We all know about the law of mind action. What we hold in our mind, we create, right? It becomes our experience outside of ourselves. So if we are holding anything that's less than love for ourselves, look at what that is probably creating in your life outside of yourself. You may be a lack of love because you don't even have love for yourself. So with the law of mind action, not having that within your own being, how are you going to create it outside of yourself? Because once you become that, universe opens wide up and you start experiencing love coming to you, from you, as you. It is the law, a universal law. Einstein knew about it, quantum physics. If you need scientific proof, you can read a lot of things that have given us proof of the law of mind action. Now, if I asked you to name all the things you love, how long would it take you to name yourself? Huh? How long would it take you to get to that? Or would you even get to that I love myself? Society does not teach this. I grew up believing that if I loved myself, it was a selfish act. I was self-centered. We are all here only to learn to love other people. Now, does that make any sense? If we are all one and we've left out ourselves, that makes no sense to me whatsoever. It did at the time because I was conditioned. I was conditioned that this is how we believe. I was told that my whole life, so of course that's what I lived from. And I did. I thought I was out loving and taking care of everybody. But little did I know, I was creating resentment. I was creating anger. I had pushed myself down to where I didn't even know who I was. I didn't know where I was. I was just getting up, living on autopilot. Because there was no connection to the love that I was. I was just busy spreading it all over the place, spilling it out all over the place. And I hurt me. I broke my own heart. And that's what we do. You will eventually get to that place that block that you've created against your own heart will start manifesting in illness, disease, discomfort, discord within your body. You're no longer harmonizing, as the revealing word talks about love. There's no harmony within your being. So the first thing, if I ask you to name all the things that you love, name all the things that you love.
Me.
Okay, well, there's one person.
Me and everyone else.
So this is something to think about. When you start thinking about love, ask yourself, do I love me? Do I feel this radiating light and love within my own being? Start asking these questions. Start bringing this awareness to you. Because once you have the awareness, then we start in our willingness to change the conditioned thoughts that we grew up with. Okay? So, not all emotions are pleasant, but they are all valuable. Every emotion you have is a valuable emotion. You are having it for a reason. It is something for you to address. It is something that gives you an indicator of where you are, how you're feeling. Now, if you're having bad or negative thoughts, and you condemn those thoughts, self-condemnation, what happens? We've talked about this before. When we have the negative thought and we condemn it, now we have laid another layer over the negative thought. So now not only do you have to change the thought of whatever it was, depression, anger, jealousy, whatever thoughts you're having, not only do you have that negative thought, but now on top of that negative thought, you have created self-condemnation. So now you have two energies that have showed up for you within your body. So now you have to address both of those. So when we have these thoughts, you don't want to condemn them. You don't want to judge them. You don't want to start feeling bad about yourself. You know, I shouldn't feel this way. I'm a Unity True student. We don't feel this way. Well, just like that sign said a while ago, BS. Yeah, you do. You all feel these things. You're still in your body. You're still living life. You still have experiences. We all have negative feelings. That's okay. But it's when you beat yourself up about them, when you don't experience it, and then once you have the awareness of that, become willing to let it go. Not holding on to it. Why do you think we have all these teachings on Wednesday night of energy healings? To give you tools to know what to do with these thoughts that are coming and raising up within inside your being. Feelings and emotions are the most important aspect of your being. They are talking to you. They're giving you insight. It's pretty cool that we do have all these feelings, right? Because it allows us to understand where we're at and what we need to work on. to get back to that love of ourselves. So be careful with that. And what about the feeling, the emotion of love? Why do you think it's so hard for people to love? Because of fear. Especially if you have lived a life of experiences where you have loved and you have been hurt. You don't think that's going to create fear within your being? I don't want to do that again. Love hurts. We all do it. We all want to protect ourselves. And here we are again, protecting ourselves, defending ourselves from one of the most purest, beautiful emotions that we have. If you get hurt, it wasn't unconditional love anyway. It wasn't the love that you were supposed to have. Were you supposed to experience it? Yes. Because each experience we have is our opportunities for growth, for personal growth, for spiritual evolution. That's why we're living this experience. So every feeling, whether it's positive or negative, is there for us, to guide us, to help us, to assist us, to empower us. These emotions give us power to take responsibility and to know where to go from here by paying attention to our feelings, to our emotions. So I invite you, when you have these feelings, these negative feelings of emotions, to just look at it. To just be curious and wonder, why am I experiencing this? How can I let this go? What would be my next step of just letting it go? And loving yourself through the depression, through the frustration, through the jealousy. Just loving yourself and paying attention to that emotion. It empowers you. What's your spiritual self-care? So we have all of these different planes of being that we are. We have the physical plane, which a lot of us live thinking that we don't look right. Society's taught us there again that we have to look a certain way, we have to weigh a certain weight, we have to have a certain kind of hair, can't be gray-haired, look old. All this conditioning that goes into our physical being. That's one of the planes that we have. And what about your talents? That's a physical aspect of yourself. Are you hiding some talent within your being that would be an expression of passion, of love that you have? We all have that. But we really don't know what that is until we begin to love ourselves. And then what about your intellect and your thinking? We've come from a society that in order for them to become civilized, men were the ones with the intellect. They were the ones with the physical strength. And women were the child bearers. And they were the ones that were this emotional, loving person. No longer is that a need in our society. Now we have come to the place where it's okay for a man to cry. It's okay for a man to feel warm and cozy and loving. That's okay. We're civilized now. So we're not separating those genders like we used to do, right? Yes. And then you have your emotional self. And then comes your spiritual self. So when you get your physical, your intellect, your emotional, when you bring these together, that is where you start harmonizing, right? That's where we create that harmony in our body. There's a balance of all these planes of being. Physical, intellectual, emotional. And then that brings us into this spiritual wholeness and this spiritual harmony. So what do you do daily to line all of those planes of your being up? Pay attention to that this week. Ask yourself this week, am I physically taking care of myself? Am I watching my thoughts and how I'm thinking and what I'm creating? How am I feeling emotional? Do I need to maybe journal? Do I need to sit in affirmation and prayer and use my denying and affirming spiritual tools? Do I need to show up on a Wednesday night? There's so many things that we can do to take care of ourselves spiritually. But without the other planes of our being, we are out of harmony. So it's loving every single plane of being and addressing each one without condemning any of it. Without condemning any of it. If there's one thing worth doing on your planet, it's discovering self-love. And I believe that this is why we are here. I believe we are here to experience love. To experience love despite the conditioning. To experience love no matter what the evidence is. No matter what conflict, experience is going on outside of us. It is to learn how to react. Everything in life is about how we react to it. So this week I invite you to pay attention. How are you reacting to yourself? How are you reacting to the physical body that you have come into the world in? How are you reacting to your thoughts, your feelings? How are you reacting to them? With love or with fear? With love or with fear? That is why we're here. And I invite you this week to pay attention to these, to love yourself no matter how you're feeling, to not layer another layer on top of what you're already experiencing in any form of fear or lack. Pay attention this week. So we're going to go into our meditation, and it's on self-love. So let's just get ourselves grounded in our seats. Plant our feet into Mother Earth. Just hug Mother Earth. Just love her as she loves us. Take your deep cleansing breaths and relax into your meditation.